Got it. Hi guys! Nagbabalik lang ako. But this time, I will be in Zoom. Wait lang. I'll give the details. First. Saan yun? Ito. Okay. I'll give the details. Nine 959-822-46472 is the ID. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, pare. Yes. Ah, ganda. We're live. We're currently live.
Wait lang, kailangan ko yung zoom back ako. Di pwedeng sa likod ko.
Pero ganda na ng background setting mo, ha? Well,
Yan na lang. Yan.
Yun. Well, waiting tayo kay kay Sir Raymond kasi 959-822-46472. Well, ano pa? I like, ipapasok ko sa iyo yung ating the round ball na Sige, pasok ko sa iyo yung the round ball natin na
Banding mo yan. Ikaw yung nasa taas eh.
Ano ka ba? Para syempre, ano ka ba? Pamilya na kita, pare. Pamilya tayo eh.
Sige.
Pamilya tayo eh.
Saka cellphone ako, paano to? Ready ko. Wala? Saan?
Sadali lang ha. Send ko sa'yo. Siyempre, pamilya tayo eh. Ito naman, iiwanan ba kita dyan? We will use that. We will use that picture because that signifies na iisa tayo as the round ball, di ba? O yan. I send it.
Okay, got it.
Dapat iisa tayo. Eh, di ba? Dapat pumasok na to eh.
Natin kagana. Live tayo. Nag-heist tayo ng background.
Kasi astig nga eh. Pasig Rizal Pirates eh. Astig nga eh. Yun! Yan ang gusto ko. Yan ang gusto natin. Yun. Wait. Pala! Gusto ko magpasalamat pala kay Boss Joseph Aldea dahil dito sa, yun nga, po-promote ko rin ang aking grupo, SHPH Basketball, Sneaker Hunt PH. Kamusta na kayo lahat dyan? Eh, syempre, na-miss ko din, shoutout pala dito sa isa sa mga kalaro ko, si Pau Padilla. Ay, kumusta ka dyan? Wait lang. Ang tagal pumasok ng taong to, grabe. Alam mo naman sa dali, ha? Well, kailangan lang, kopyahin ko nga ito. Hirap din kasi. Yan kasi mahirap. Pag ganon. Teka ha. Mahina ba audio ko? Mahina ba audio ko dyan, Brad?
Kaya naman pero medyo mahina nga.
So, dali nga. Ito na. Malakas na ba?
Hindi pa.
Okay. So, dali lang. Bibigyan ko ng passcode tong si Sir. Okay. 914160. Alright. Malakas na ba audio ko?
Same pang kanina. Same pang kanina.
Same kang kanina? Hello? Hello? Okay na ba?
Hindi pa yung masyado.
Wait. I need to solve this.
Walang ganun sa wildcard game. Sorry.
Sandali lang. May konti lang re-resolve. May konti re-resolve pa lang ako. Wait lang, ha? Ayun na siya. Pero sandali lang. Ako na naman ang may problema. Pero teka, I will make some
Hello.
Hello.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Yan. Narinig niyo ako?
Wait a minute. Why?
Hello?
Are we all right?
Yes. Am I hearing? Narinig niyo ako? Ivan?
I can hear you.
Now you're being more inaudible.
Inaudible
Billy.
again?
I'm inaudible or he is?
No, I mean
Who's
Billy's,
inaudible?
his volume is getting lower again.
Wait. My God! Okay na ba?
Better.
Ha?
Better.
Wait.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good. Only Billy's is
Tell Billy he got to get his act together. No.
not as audible as earlier. Or maybe it's on
No,
me.
that's on me.
Maybe it's on me.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
All right. And that's okay?
Yes. But we're
Sorry about all the mix up.
Speaker
What's your
na lang.
name?
Hello?
hello.
Yes, narinig mo na ako?
Okay naman.
Ano, rinig naman? Okay. Ayun, finally! Sa tingin ko, di mo na ako magmamic. Nahihirapan ako eh. Well, here it goes. The guest is here already. Kanina pa siya. He is from San Jose. But, well, I'll introduce you to my guest. My guest is actually a native of San Jose, California. And, well, he studied for 4 years and played under UCLA with head coach John Wooden. And he actually played on the last 4 years of John Wooden's career. He actually played. Because the following season, they changed another coach in Gene Bartow. And this guy, he played for the Golden State Warriors for 2 seasons. And Actually, during the time of UCLA, he is with teammates with seven-time NBA All-Star Marquise Johnson. And he actually played also for the Indiana Pacers in 1982. And then he went overseas. He went to Europe and he became a champion with Banco Roma in the FIBA Intercontinental Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from San Jose, California, we're talking about Raymond Townsend.
Billy, you make me feel like I'm back in the old days being introduced on the over at the Coliseum.
Yeah. Well, good thing that you replied actually after some difficulties yesterday. Well,
Yeah.
let's start the interview. I'm just excited. First things first, I want to say, how's your background during your when do you start playing basketball?
Started when I was 7 years old. People don't know this. I never wanted to be a basketball player. I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to play with the New York Yankees. My father was a pro baseball player with the Milwaukee Braves. So I wanted
That's
to
the
grow up.
Atlanta Braves today.
I wanted to grow up and be a baseball player. So I played baseball a lot more than I played basketball. At 7, I was playing both baseball and basketball all the time. But baseball was my real.
What position in baseball that you are playing? Are you a outfielder or a pitcher or baseman?
Shortstop.
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 Why shortstop is your favorite spot, if I may ask?
Well, in baseball, your major 4 positions, the most important positions in baseball are the center of the field. It's your catcher, shortstop, second base, and center fielder. So I just always wanted to be a shortstop, but my idol was a guy named Willie Richardson from the New York Yankees, because he was about 6'2". I'm 6'4". He was tall, lanky, one of the biggest second basemen in the league, and I love the Yankee pinstripes. So I always wanted to be a pro baseball player.
And then why basketball? That your original is
basketball. I was just very gifted. I could shoot it. I had great quickness. Grew up when I was younger around great minds. My high school coach was the coach at Gonzaga, where Gonzaga is the #1 team now. He took Gonzaga from being not very well known. My high school coach name was Dan Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
He coached at Gonzaga and took him into the top 25, and then had some recruiting issues. And his assistant during all those years, when he took Gonzaga to the top 25, was Mark Few. And he passed the program on to Mark after the recruiting issues. And Few's taken him to be one of the top 5 in the country every year. But I've had great coaching. That was my high school coach at Archbishop Mitty. I went to a private school here in San Jose, one of the best basketball schools, in all of California. And the tradition has been since then. I was the first NBA pro at Mitty. And then now they have Aaron Gordon. Who's also a Mitty boy who's playing still, with Denver. We're the only 2 players that ever made the NBA at Mitty High School. But it's
that's nice.
It's a very good school. But I also played baseball during all that time. And but I started out when I was 7, and I knew I was pretty gifted. By the time I was 10, I was playing with 14-year-olds. When I was 12, I was playing with 16. When I was a freshman in high school, I was playing with college kids. By the time I was a sophomore, I was beating varsity college kids. So I knew I was very good in basketball, but I kept playing baseball because I said I wanted to be a pro baseball player.
Now, how about this? Your story, your 4-year story. Actually, this week, we will have the March Madness. And
Yes.
you have so many memories regarding March Madness. And you won your first championship in your first year under head coach, the legendary John Wooden.
Yeah.
What is your
Coach Wood.
favorite moment with the greatest coach in college basketball?
The greatest moment I think that I love about Coach Wooden is he always gave us a chance to work through our challenges. He never ever took the reins and rode you through it. Taught you so much. The greatest moments was his teaching. His mind was like no other about the game. His detail, his attention to detail, his knowledge about spacing and rhythm and flow and reading and countering was, unmatched, incomparable to many, many people. So he taught us how to see a game way beyond its time. You could just tell by the way UCLA played. We were so integrated with perfection and execution. We could give you our playbook and we still get our shots off. I mean, it was just a different way of basketball. And he had an uncanny ability to take 15 All-Americans and bring you into one mind, one body, one spirit, one motion. And there were a lot of egos, a lot of All-Americans. I remember a story about Coach Wooden when he came to my house and recruited me. I remember asking Coach Wooden when he came in. First of all, he said, Raymond, we run a program of integrity and honesty at UCLA. Our past. We've won, at that time, it was 9 championships in 11 years.
Yeah.
That we have a lot of players that get to the NBA.
Led by the main man, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then followed by Bill Walton, and then you guys,
and then
especially with your teammate, Marcus Johnson.
Well, I'm going to get to Marcus in a little bit, but I remember when he was sitting in my house, he said, we run a program of integrity and honesty. And he said, you're not my number one pick. I kind of looked, you can't tell young kids today that they're not the number one pick. They'll just close the door on you. So he asked me, are you okay with not being my number one pick? And I said, Coach, just in all honesty, I just want to know who your number one pick is. And he said, it's a kid named Mark Wolfmeyer, who is an LA product. He's my number one pick. He's averaging 39 points a game. Now, you got to understand, 39 points a game, Billy, was without a three-pointer.
Yeah.
Back in that day. He said, you're only averaging 29 a game. He goes, but with both of you, that's 68 points. We think we could have one of the best backcourts in the United States. And then he said, are you okay with that? I said, yes, sir, I'm okay with that. Bring it on. He goes, and mind you, and then he got paused and he said, I'm going to recruit 15 other All-Americans during your 4-year tenure. Are you okay with that? And I said, yes, sir, I'm all right. So he goes, all right, let's get down to business. But those were the first, 2 things I heard from him. So he was okay with challenging you, but he expected you to walk through that challenge and navigate those waters, competitively. Greatest man I've ever known, greatest man I've ever played for. I owe my life to Coach Wooden, along with a lot of the other great minds of basketball that I've been exposed to. But one of my questions, you'll get a kick out of this, Billy. When I was sitting down in front of Coach, I said, Coach, I have one request. And he said, yes. And I said, this has nothing to do with basketball. He goes, well, I'll listen. I said, Coach, I want to play UCLA baseball. He goes, really? He goes, 2-sport athlete. He goes, after the Final Four, you're going to miss part of the season. I said, yes, sir. He goes, I go and watch them play all the time. I said, yes, sir. I just want your permission that after the Final Four, I can play baseball. He said, sure you can, as long as you don't get hurt. So I played, my first year I played JV, but the next 3 years I started at UCLA in baseball. People don't know this. I hit 310 for my career average. I hit 392 my senior year, 310 career. And was drafted the 120th pick by the Cincinnati Reds.
Wow.
Not the Yankees, but I got drafted by the Reds out of college.
So you were a slugger. You are a slugger, a home run hitter. Or
I wasn't. I was more of a Rod Carew guy. I could spray the ball wherever I wanted. I switch hit.
Switch hitter. So you're something kind of Ichiro Suzuki, the all-time hitter, Ichiro Suzuki.
Yes, I remember Ichiro. Yes. So I switch hit, played shortstop my sophomore year. We won the championship in the Pac. At that time, it was a Pac-8. Beat USC, who was one of the top-ranked teams, and USC was the UCLA. USC in baseball was the UCLA in basketball. So we beat them. I got moved to second base, and I got drafted as a second baseman. But my career at UCLA, was all about Coach Wooden. And I was lucky. I had a great baseball coach named Gary Adams, who to me was the Coach Wooden of baseball. So I've been really fortunate, Bill. I've had great coaching from high school into college, even in the pros. I had great coaching with Al Attles from the Warriors. I had Jack Ramsey when I was with the Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Jack Kinney when I was with the Pacers. So I've been very blessed. Even overseas, played in Brazil for Edvar Simoes, the Olympic coach. In Italy, I played for Valerio Bianchini, who's a huge name for Italian basketball. I've just been exposed to great, great coaches.
Actually, I will try to talk about this. In 1978, you were awarded as the mythical member of the Pac-8, 1978, along with one-time All-Star James Donaldson. What is that feeling?
James Donaldson was playing with Portland when I was there. No, was it Donaldson? Donaldson. I remember him playing in the NBA, and he played for Washington. So I remember James over at Washington. Didn't he play for University of Washington?
Yes, Washington State.
Yes. So I remember playing against him. Although I hated their gym, I hated their floor. They didn't play on wood.
Here are the members of the All Pac-8. You, David Greenwood, your teammate, Ricky Lee from Oregon State, Cliff Robinson from USC, your teammate Roy Hamilton,
yes,
and you have Kimberly Belton from Stanford, Don Collins and James Donaldson from Washington State, and from USC, Purvis Miller and Don Carlino.
Don Carfino. I remember
Carfino, sorry. Don Carfino.
Yeah, Don's a good friend of mine still.
Carfino.
So I remember all of those guys. They're all good people, and a lot of them are still around, so we're still healthy. And do you want to know how much talent we had at UCLA? I'll give you a sample. Marcus Johnson.
Yeah.
You mentioned him a few times. Very good friend. Stay in touch with him all the time. One thing about UCLA players, whether they're past or present, it's a family. And once you enter into that family unit, it's always a forever family. I'm so grateful to be a Bruin to this day. But Marcus Johnson was our senior. It was my junior year. So let me tell you how much talent was on that team, Billy. Remember how Kentucky had 6 first-round picks? Okay. We surpassed that year, my junior year. We had 11 of the 15 players at UCLA that year were NBA pros. 8 first-rounders on that team. 8.
And then
our practices were outrageous.
How outrageous? You said outrageous. How outrageous it is?
It was so competitive that if you had a bad day or two, you'd lose your job. So behind me for 3 years, I had the number 7 pick in the NBA first round and the number 15 pick in the first round playing behind me at UCLA. So do you know how competitive that is? If you have a bad day, one of those guys are going to scoop up your job. The number 7 pick the year after I left, because I was the 20th or 21st pick in the NBA. This number 7 pick was Roy Hamilton. The number 15 pick was a guy that came to UCLA, only started 1 year because of me, Brad Holland, and got picked up as the 15th pick with the LA Lakers. That's how much ability we had on those teams.
Well, you said that during practices, is there a time that because of being competitive, there's a time that it goes over competitive, like
fighting,
teammates hated each other because
fighting.
Yes.
Yes, me and Roy. Well, the first day of practice, Brad Holland and I got into it. We fought. And then the second day, me and Roy got into it because we fought. And then the third day, Brad and I fought again. And the reason it was like that, because we had a new coach that year named Gene Bartow.
Gene Bartow.
And Coach Bartow, great coach. Don't get me wrong. Great coach. But he wanted to change UCLA from the Wooden era to the Bartow era. So he was going to try to play everybody but Marcus, play all of his recruits with Marcus Johnson. So a lot of the Wooden boys, we weren't going to let that happen. So it was it was kind of Coach Bartow had to stop practice and, break up the fights and say, look, you know what, we're not going to do this. And I actually got brought into the office with Coach Bartow, and he was very polite.
That is a bad thing to happen.
He said, Raymond, we just, we don't do fisticuffs. I'll do it in his accent. No, Raymond, we just don't do fisticuffs here at UCLA, which I know you know. And, when he started that, I said, hey, Coach, let me just tell you, I said, with all due respect, I said, and, I've grown up respecting coaches and honoring authority. But I said, I'm going to fight for my job because you gave 2 freshmen my job and they didn't earn it. So I'm going to fight every day till I get my job, but I won't have any more fights with fisticuffs. So I just played physical, but that's just who I was. I was going to battle. I got my job my sophomore year. After 8 games, the freshmen weren't playing well because they're freshmen, and UCLA, we're in the top 5 every year. I was playing very well. I got my first start. Coach Bartow came to me and said, Raymond, we're going to start you against Notre Dame. It's on national TV. It's your job. I'm going to start you. You've earned it. And I'm assigning you to Adrian Dantley.
Yeah.
Third leading scorer in the nation. He's averaging about 26, 27 a game. And that's your assignment. And I said, well, I'm the best defensive player on the team, coach. So I got it. I held Adrian Dantley to about 21.
Oh, you limited him. Wow. That was amazing.
21. I scored 17 as a sophomore, and my whole career jumped from there. I was on the radar on national TV and got Schick player of the game, and I was only a sophomore. And there were a lot of big players in that game for Notre Dame and UCLA. That spun my career to a whole nother level. And then the next is all history. I set records. I was one of the top 5 shooting guards to this day in UCLA history. I shot like 54, 55%.
Amazing.
So, I mean, it just spun and
with no trees yet.
Yeah.
With no trees yet.
But I didn't realize that I would be starting and carrying a torch for being Filipino.
Yeah.
That wasn't important back then. But I always told people I was Pinoy and Kababayan, but nobody believed me because I had a big afro in college. And with that being said, everybody being black on our team, everybody assumed I was black. So even if I said
you're almost like Jordan Poole because of your mustache. You're almost like Jordan Poole.
I used to have the, what is it, Pungal?
No. Yeah.
What's that called?
Pango.
What is it?
Pango. Pango.
I used to have
Pango.
Whatever.
But I broke my nose in Real Madrid against Real Madrid, and they gave me this nose now. That was my only identity I had.
Well, Ivan, you have questions. Do you have questions
I
with
have,
our guest, Raymond
since
Townsend?
okay, I have a question. So you mentioned already that you were also drafted to the MLB. So when you found out when you found out you're gonna be drafted as well by Golden State, were you in some sort of a, what you call this, a dilemma? Which should I go? San Francisco or Cincy? You had a dilemma like that?
Yes, I did. And the problem was, I'd heard from Jerry West right before the draft. Jerry said he was going to take me and I was going to stay in LA. Being a UCLA product playing for the Lakers, that was a great thing since everybody already knew you. 15 minutes after that phone call, Al Attles called me and said, "Hey, Raymond, we're bringing you home. You know, you're a Northern California kid. We're going to bring you home and play for the Warriors." And then Cincinnati, I got drafted right before that. And became a money thing. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. So Golden State offered about $585 a year, 3 years. And also my retirement is taken care of after 3 years in the NBA. Cincinnati came in at about 150, offered me 150, 175, 150 double A, 175 triple A, and two and a quarter my third year, which they planned on me being in the majors. It was a 3-year plan. I didn't have to wait in the minor leagues in the NBA, and we didn't have a players association. So the dilemma wasn't that I couldn't play both. The dilemma is my NBA contract said I couldn't play both, you know? And so that's what stopped me from playing baseball. Or else, you know, I don't have many regrets in life, but one of my regrets is that I never got a chance to play pro baseball.
Mm-hmm. So if you had a chance, actually, when you were supposed to be playing alongside, if you chose baseball, you had a chance. You supposedly had a chance to team up with Pete Rose. So and we all know Pete Rose is a legend in Cincy and even in the
Yeah,
MLB
Pete
in general.
Rose.
Yes,
Oh,
Pete
I
Rose,
tell you what,
legend.
I was going to play. I did my homework back then. I was going to start next to David Concepcion. They were talking about Joe Morgan retiring. I was going to have Joe Morgan's job at second base. So I was excited.
So,
And
but what made you finally decide that since although San Francisco or Oakland, actually they already moved to Oakland by that time. It's
It was
still
in
near
Oakland.
San.
What the deciding factor basically was playing at home in Oakland and getting enough money with my bonus. I played NBA top level, no minor leagues, no nothing, just major league basketball, and enough money to buy my mom a big home.
wow, that's nice. That's nice to hear.
Well,
Speaking of your
what are our moms to Filipino young men or Filipino sons? Our moms are everything. Filipino moms are our life. It's our world. It's our rock.
yeah, exactly. In 1978, actually, you were drafted last pick in the NBA draft,
Yeah.
and you are famously in that draft because there's one person who got drafted, but he didn't play after he didn't play for 1 year. He played in 1979, and I'm talking about Celtic legend Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Okay,
Larry came in the year after.
what is
with
your
Magic.
feeling that you are trying that you were picked in 1978 among those greats, especially Larry Legend?
Larry legend.
Yeah, Larry is a friend of mine. Great respect for who he is, what he did for the game. You know, I came in a year before Magic and Larry, but I played during that era where it was Larry and Magic, Isaiah Thomas. But I don't think, you know, when it comes to a basketball mind as a player, Larry saw the game different than many, many people. I mean, he was beyond his time. He was like another Rick Barry.
Yeah,
Rick Barry was beyond his time as well. But Larry, he impacted everybody around him, came to play every single night, played at a high level, just knew the game, knew how to manipulate the game, saw the game different than other people. Coach Wooden used to use this term all the time when he was coaching us. He said, learn to read the book, and the book would be the court. And he said, in every part of that book, you have chapters, like the down screen, it's a chapter, and two-man game, it's a chapter, and back screens, and dribble handoffs, and everything is a chapter, and then you manipulate everything in that chapter. So eventually, when you learned how to read the book, you could break down every system. You could break down every counter meaning when people know what you're going to do, what you're going to do instinctively after. Coach Wooden taught us all of those things, so we understood how to read the book. And that definitely prepared us. I think the hardest part about being at UCLA, getting into the NBA, was adjusting to one-on-one basketball. We didn't know how to do that at UCLA that much. We were talented, but everything was out of a system. Everything was out of half-court basketball.
Yeah.
Learning to play one-on-one and become an entertainer, that was something that we all had to learn how to do. You know, especially when you talk to Marcus and some of the, it was a change. It was a transition you had to make, going from a great team basketball team to getting into the NBA, where it was a lot of one-on-one and entertainment style basketball. But yet it was still good basketball. I mean, you still made extra passes. You're starting to see the really good NBA teams now go back to old school basketball. You know, it's got a nice flavor of run and gun, a lot more threes, but you're starting to see extra passing, extra ball movement. You're starting to see more movement on offense and not the 8 or 9 dribbles to go one-on-one. So it's a good thing.
Okay.
Now,
Wait. I have a follow up to that, because I've seen the entire 1978 draft, and it's kind of, although it's not that as big as the other draft classes, of course. We've talking about the 84s, the 96, the 03s.
Right.
But you still have some good talents here. Michael Thompson, the top pick.
Michael
Yeah,
Thompson is the
Michael
number 1
Thompson.
pick.
Yes.
His
The
teammate,
father
Purvis
of
Short.
Purvis
Purvis
Short.
Short, my teammate, was it either like the 5th pick or the 7th pick?
5th pick.
Fifth. Purvis Short.
Yeah. Purvis was one of my best friends when I was there, and we got really close. And now he's working in the NBA offices in New York with Kiki Vandeweghe. So these are teammates. Kiki, I was with UCLA and saw Kiki throughout the NBA. And then Purvis obviously played with me for 2 years before I went over to Indiana, but was really close because we were rookies. Wayne Cooper, Purvis, and I all came in together. And we were on, people don't understand, when I came in, we were the youngest team in the NBA.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because here's actually the first roster that you have been included. But first, before, how do you feel being coached by Al Attles?
Al was, great respect for Al. Al was, I think what I learned is there's different coaches with different strengths. The greatest thing about Al, he's what we call a player's coach.
Yeah.
Al was a player. Al was a great player.
That's why he won the championship.
Yeah, he understood how to play through injury. He understood when you were injured. He understood you had to take care of your body. He understood how to approach a player, you know, how to build up a player, encourage a player. Al was a player's coach. He was loved by his players, and players enjoyed playing for him. There was never, you know, a misunderstanding. He was never really yelled, talked to you in a deep, gruff voice that you knew he was serious. And if he raised it just a little bit, you know he was, you know, not playing with your minutes. You needed to pick it up, or he's going to sit you. But player's coach, like I said, loved playing for him. Great man. I just saw him not long ago. He's still, you know, getting up and down and is healthy. And I see him whenever I see him at the Warriors games every once in a while.
Here is actually the roster that you have been included during your first year in 78-79. You have Wayne Cooper, your fellow rookie Wayne Cooper, Purvis Short. Then here are the reliable players like Robert Parrish.
Oh yes,
Clifford Ray.
Clifford Ray.
And JoJo White.
Jojo White,
JoJo
legend.
White, hey, John Lucas. There was some good players. JoJo White, John Lucas.
Nate Williams.
Phil Smith was a great player. 8-time NBA All-Star. Phil took me under his wing as a rookie, and used to stay after. JoJo White took me under his wing, and so not only was fortunate enough to get good coaching, I had players. JoJo White shared all of his knowledge with me. He sat on the bench next to me, really took the time to educate me on NBA basketball and pick my brain, and taught me how it was a chess game. And grateful Phil Smith spent every day of practice after playing me one-on-one, and he used to tell me, he goes, "You're the best defensive player I've ever played against. That's why I played with you one-on-one, because if I can score on you, I'm going to be able to score on anybody in this league." So he kept me after. We played one-on-one, and very grateful for Phil Smith, JoJo White, even John Lucas, Purvis being my friend. We played different positions, but just being there. Like I said, I've been very blessed, Billy. Very, very blessed.
Mhm.
And go, Ivan.
So let's go back first to the draft, because I've been seeing this draft again, and talk about this. Although, like I mentioned, it's not that as talented as the other class, but you were drafted ahead of Mo Cheeks and Mark Iavaroni, two key players from the 1983 Florida
Championship team of the Sixers.
So talk about the fact that
Yeah.
that you were the last pick of the first round, and yet you were chosen ahead of Mo Cheeks, who's a second rounder, and Mark Iavaroni, who is a third rounder, and they both became key players. So talk about the privilege of you being picked ahead of this
You know what? I
future
have to
stars.
tell you, I told you I'm very grateful. I met Mo back in St. Louis, Missouri. We were in an all-star game together. Mo was our starting point guard. I was a starting shooting guard. So we got really close because he was from a smaller school. And I remember we were talking about the draft, and he said, "Hey, you went to a big school, you're probably guaranteed to get drafted." I said, "Yeah." I said, "We got the exposure." And he goes, "Well," and I told him, I said, "Man, you got a good game." I said, "I'm letting you know, you're going to be fine." And we got close up in St. Louis after this all-star game. We hung out, talked a little bit, and, he ended up having a great career. Not only as an NBA player, he's been in the league as a coach as well.
Yes.
And you forgot also, Ivan, Michael Cooper.
Oh yes, he also. Oh yes.
You
You were also chosen ahead of Michael Cooper.
Michael
Yeah,
One of
Cooper,
the
you
best
forgot
defenders
that
during that
guy.
time.
Yes, I just talked to Michael Cooper the other day. He actually stops in at but he's an ex-UCLA coach coaching over at Cal State LA. One of the players I train is their best player, averaged about 17 points a game this year as a junior. And Michael Cooper got to know him and had no idea that I was a player that trained him for like 4 or 5 years. So I just talked to Michael the other day. So he's doing well. And he's stops in at Cal State LA, talks to my player over there, is learning, Michael's a great guy.
And you forgot this one.
And one of the
Wait.
best defensive players to ever play the game.
Yes.
Yes,
One of the
beskiest.
Yes,
Really?
yes, and the Defensive Player of the Year honors in 1987.
Yes,
Yeah.
And actually, you forgot
and
this guy.
he also bullied Larry Bird too much. So weird.
He bullies too much. Actually, you forgot this one person. The one that Johnny Moss speak up in 1984. Gerald Henderson Sr.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
The
Gerald.
one who steal the ball from Magic Johnson in
Gerald
the
Henderson.
inbounds.
Gerald
What do you say
back
about
in
Gerald
Boston.
Henderson Sr.?
Yes.
Gerald Henderson back in Boston. So just tough, physical, very quick. I was matched up against Larry. I always had Larry or Chris Ford back in the day. ML Carr. I had those guys. Gerald was usually John Lucas's assignment. So I didn't really have to see Gerald that much. I knew he was very quick. Gerald reminded me very much of a player from Kansas named Darnell Valentine. Played with the Portland Trailblazers. Valentine. They remind me very similar of players.
Now,
Wait,
let's talk about.
I have another
Okay.
you missed another player.
Who?
Although he didn't score as much in the NBA, but he started in another league that we will call the Philippine Basketball Association. We're talking about 47th overall pick Billy Ray Bates.
Yes,
Billy
the
Ray
Black
Bates.
Superman.
Ahead
When I
of this
was with
PBA
Portland,
superstar.
yeah, when I was with Portland, Billy Ray was at Portland at that time.
Yes,
It was
a few then.
it was Kelvin Ramsey. Darnell got traded. It was Kelvin Ramsey. It was Paxson. Was it John Paxson or Jimmy? No, it was
The
John.
hero of the
John
93. Yeah.
Paxson. It was Billy Ray Bates. It was me, and then there was one other guard. Man, my mind. This is my age. I'm a Manong now. I have to think of
It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the year I met Billy Ray when he was there. Tremendous talent. I heard he went over the Philippines and just killed people over there. I heard it was like,
Yeah.
well, he was so much bigger than a lot of players. He could just put a shoulder in you and knock you like 3-4 feet. He was that big. Did he play big in the Philippines?
Yes, he did.
Like,
He
was
is
a big guard?
actually
He
the best,
he won
best import.
Best import. Because we the Philippines, there's a difference because unlike in the NBA where there's only one tournament per season, the PB had three tournaments per season, and when you get all three of them, you get a Grand Slam, and he got a Grand Slam.
Yeah, and Billy Ray
wow.
Bates actually he was called here in the Philippines as the Black Superman. And also, he's actually the benchmark of all PBA imports because
Exactly.
he is amazing during that time.
Better than my friend, the Brown Fox.
Ricardo Brown.
Yes.
Actually, Ricardo Brown won the MVP in 1985, I think. You need to search Ivan. But
yeah,
you know,
the same year where Billy Ray Bates moved to Ginebra and became a star there as well.
yes,
Wow.
with teammate
Wow.
Michael Hackett. But
and the legendary Robert Jaworski Sr.
I have talked to Tim Cone lately. I
Hmm.
talked to Tim. But when I went back to the Philippines, I think in 1980, they put a tour together, and I just wanted to get back there. I have family on Banawe Street in Quezon City.
Quezon City.
They have a house there, and I just want to get back, see my family, get to the Philippines. So I took a trip that was sponsored by, at that time, President Marcos.
yes, Marcos.
And,
Marcos.
yeah, and he sponsored the trip and brought me and Clifford Ray and Jamal
Yeah.
Wilkes.
Jamal Wilkes. Yeah.
Clifford Ray, Sonny Parker. It was a few different players. And we went over there, and I met, during that time, I met Robert Jaworski.
Yes, Jamal.
Yes. Jawo.
I met Moan Fernandez.
Don Ramon.
Don Ramon.
Talk
Now
about
commissioner of
games.
PAC.
Moan had a game, you know. So what they did is we did these things. First, they put we played a couple exhibition games in different cities, and then when they brought us into Manila, and they put together the PBA All-Star team, which was Moan, Atoiko, Jaworski. There were some other names in there. And they played us against them, and we beat them. Then they took the PBA imports, put a team together there. We beat them, and I remember it was it was a different brand of basketball in the PBA back then, but that was back in the 80s. I'm sure it's a lot different now. But I remember it was a lot more physical.
It is.
Players weren't as big. I was like 6'4", 195. And I could blink and go by you. I was very, very quick. And I remember it was a lot more physical, but I was too quick for them to, I was too quick to have them be able to hit me.
Actually,
so I enjoyed it. I know some people always want to know why didn't I ever play in the PBA? As much as I love the Philippines, after the NBA, I wanted to see the world. The only thing I've ever thought about the PBA, and I always felt that Italy, PBA wasn't paying the money Italy was paying. You know, all the ex-NBA players, they didn't go to the PBA, they went to Italy. If you look at the history of NBA
Banco
players,
Roma was actually your team in 1984 when you won the championship.
yeah, and you know what? We were ranked the third best. I was there for a couple of years. We were the third best team in Europe, and we attracted crowds. We were averaging about 14,000 per game during the European Cup games, the Euro League games, probably 20 some, standing room only. You didn't even get those crowds sometimes in NBA games. And you know, when I was
And
back with
notably,
Roma,
in Banco Roma, you have this kind of teammate, the Iceman, George Gervin.
Oh,
Gervin came in right after I left.
Yeah, he left actually.
George is a good friend. I had a really good teammate there, though. His name was Bruce Flowers from Notre Dame. Played a long time. He played with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then he went over to Italy, played for Ford Cantu for Valerio Bianchini. When Valerio took over Banco, he brought Bruce. Bruce and I became very good friends, and he's a very good player. But I had a really nice run. I averaged about 25 points a game there as a third leading scorer. The leading scorer at that time was Scott May. When I played, he led the league. He was from Indiana, played for, where did Scott play in the NBA? I think he played for the Hawks. But you know, it was a good experience. I never went back to the PBA. I only thought about going back to the PBA one day to coach.
Well, that's a good thing to hear. Actually, let's go back to Golden State. Well, when you say Golden State, when you're playing for Golden State, for the Golden State Warriors, in one word, what is Golden State? What is the Golden State Warriors for you? In one word.
For me, it was youth. We were young. We were the youngest team in the NBA, and I'm going to tell you what, it was a learning experience. So we had a lot of youth, and you know, but if I were to describe the organization, I would describe it as classy. It's a class act over there. To this day, that organization does everything right. They did it back when I played. They do it now. It's a class act. So
Actually,
Golden State, it's just classy. They do everything first rate.
Actually, in history, the last time that the Warriors made it to the playoffs before anything changes was in 1994 with Chris Webber. And then Charles Barkley scored 56 when the Suns beat the Warriors 140 to 133 in 1994. And 13 years, the We Believe.
yeah.
The We Believe comes with Baron Davis, Andres Piedrinch, Steven Jackson, Al Harrington. What do you feel when the Warriors didn't make it to the playoffs during that span? I know you are a Bay Area native and you want to see the Warriors some changes during that time. But we know the Warriors are not your typical successful team like the Lakers or even the Celtics.
Right. Well, we didn't have that reputation at that time. I mean, we came off, I think right before I got there, 2 years before I got there, they won the NBA championship.
Yeah, with the
Bullets.
Yeah.
Right. And then I came in, I think that was in 75, 76. And then I came in 78. They gave that team 2 years to repeat. They didn't. So they cleaned house. They sent Rick Barry to Houston.
Yeah.
They got rid of all their guards. Picked up, I think they picked up, well, Robert got drafted into Golden State. But it was a very young team. You know, we had to learn a new system. We had to learn one another. It was a tough year. You know, it was tough. I started my second year with Golden State. Phil Smith against the Washington, at that time, the Bullets, who are now the Wizards. Phil went down and tore his Achilles. I got a chance to start for 3 months. I averaged 12 points and 5 assists a game. Played about 36, 38 minutes, 12 points, 5 assists. So I knew I could play there. It's just tough. You know, it's the hardest thing about the NBA is when you're playing all the time at UCLA and you're winning. I don't think I lost more than 10 games in 4 years.
Yeah.
And then you come and you lose 43 games in 1 year.
That is an awkward feeling. That is an
That's a
awkward
tough
feeling.
thing. Well, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to do. I mean, you're not used to that feeling. So,
And well, during the 2007 playoffs, I know you were there in San Francisco, in Oakland, and you're
Oakland.
watching. It is jam-packed, and you cannot the louder cheers, just like it is just like an airplane sound. How do you feel when? How did you feel when then when they upset the Dallas Mavericks in 2008?
that was wasn't that part of the that was an unreal scene, you know, when they did that, because nobody expected that to happen.
Donnie Nelson.
Yes. Don Nelson
Yeah.
that was a year. And I remember seeing somebody, was it Baron Davis? He
Baron
did that-
Davis,
Davis.
yes, Baron
he did that-
Davis.
That's that signature dunk he did over somebody at the end.
Andrei Kirilenko against Utah in Game 3.
Yes, and he sealed the deal. You know, those were some good times, but nothing beats the Golden State Warriors when Steph Curry came. And
That was started in 2013.
and he changed the whole field of expectation. He changed the destiny and his just charismatic personality and the way he is as a player, and his never say die, I don't want to lose attitude, or I'm not going to lose attitude.
Actually,
Just the way it impacted the team, the organization, the Bay Area. It's just unreal. I think Bay Area owes a lot to Steph Curry.
Actually, during that time, after 2007, they have never been in the playoffs until 2013. That was the start. And
Of the Steph Curry
Mark
era.
Jackson actually guided the Warriors to an upset against Denver. And they
Yeah.
almost got upset the Spurs. They almost. And then the following season, it is a 7-game grueling series with the Clippers, with Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And then 2015, eto na.
The title.
They won the championship
Mm-hmm.
against LBJ. What do you feel that 40 years later, from 1975, and 40 years later, you got again, the Warriors got it again? What kind of feeling that you had during that time?
Oh, it was, you know, time well spent waiting. And as you know, Bay Area hasn't had that kind of success in a long time. I remember that was a good year for me. I was on ABS CBN. I was on TFC. I was
With
doing all
TJ
these interviews.
Manotok.
Yes, I was doing a lot of different interviews about that. I was actually commentating for some of these TV stations, you know, during that time. But it was a good time. Good time.
And well, Steve Kerr just changed the complexion, and then you have Bob Myers, and then you have the owners Joe Lacob and Peter Gerber.
Yeah,
Well,
Bob Myers done a wonderful job with the way he's moved it. He's had to do a little bit of, it's been a challenge lately.
yes,
You know,
actually.
once Clay
Yeah.
went down, he's had to, you know, move some people and bring some people in, and it's been tough. It's been tough.
Actually, I'm now trying
Wait.
to ask that
Wait,
question.
wait.
Go, Ivan. You need to ask that
Actually-
question.
Wait, actually, I asked. I have to ask you. Wait, Jerry West already moved to the Warriors that time, right? Jerry West.
Jerry West went from, after they won it, Jerry West went over to the Clippers.
Yes.
Jerry,
sorry, he was-
I love Jerry West. I love the way he sees the game, his mind. He was one of my idols when I was growing up.
Mm.
And when I talked to Jerry the year they won it, he did a tremendous job at doing that. Then he left the Warriors and he went to the Clippers. So he's been trying to build the Clippers back to, and he did, back to prominence. They ended up losing in the playoffs that one year, but he's made some big changes up in the Clips, trying to get them
Yeah, he
back.
made it to
Yeah.
the conference finals last season.
Last season.
Right.
Well,
Finally.
I will try to ask that question to Sir Raymond about the Warriors today. When Draymond Green will come back tomorrow against Washington. Now,
Well,
and then
a lot
James
of-
Wiseman.
Yes, Wiseman played tonight. He had 19 and 14 in his
Wow. This is
That's the G League,
dangerous.
right?
He had 19 and 14 in the G League game against Ignite tonight. He looked good. He's a little rusty, but he had 19 and 14. He was like a man amongst boys out there today. Little man.
Actually, I'm looking forward to that. Now, the question here, we are with the current Warrior situation. What can you say about during the time when Steph Curry leads the Warriors, and then Clay coming back, there's a transition, then Draymond got injured, then they're waiting for Jonathan Kuminga, they're waiting for Moses Moody to mature, and then now James Wiseman. Are we seeing with the complete lineup? Are we seeing that we can be a championship team?
Well, I have to tell you, first of all, you left out a kid that's really improved, Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really
he scored
come on.
30 yesterday.
He's come on, and you can see the maturity in his game. He's learning to get his shot off quicker, and he's learning when to take it, not force it. His movement without the ball has gotten much better. Yeah, I think you are seeing, first of all, in an NBA season, you're going to have injuries. It's
Exactly.
inevitable. So you got to make sure you've got young players who can step in. I think what you're really seeing is almost, it's not quite a changing of the guard, but you're starting to see it transform into a changing of the guard. So, I think we're a playoff team. I still think Wiseman, makes a big difference, and he's got to get back. I always felt that we were always missing we've been missing a big man for a while. And I
Yeah,
thought
that's the missing link.
I think Bogut did a good job when he was here, but he was surrounded by a lot of ability and shooters. And, the one thing the Warriors do is they find ways to get good shots and day in and day out. I mean, they have good shooters. They've good ball movement. One of the few teams that moves. I think Phoenix is the only other, not the only one, but is a similar team that just moves without the ball so well and moves
Actually,
the ball.
Phoenix, you gotta love that Phoenix team with DeAndre Ayton, because Ayton is a guy that can give headaches, especially to the MVP candidates, Jokic, Embiid, and then Giannis. And I will tell you, if Wiseman will change the complexion during the playoffs, I'll tell you, we're going for that bacon.
Right. I think we have a good shot at it. We got to stay healthy, and we got to make sure that we're peaking at the right time. That's one thing Golden State always does. They peak at the right time during playoff time. Like they could not be playing very well a month earlier. The next thing you see is they are, turning it on at the right time. So I think we're going to be competitive in the playoffs.
But
Right.
actually, I have this picture. I have this picture that you made a comment regarding Filipino basketball players. You said this, and I
Yes.
will read it to you. Filipinos aren't good basketball players. That's the stereotype. We're too small. We're not quick enough. I can go on the list of all the stereotypes why we can't make it. Why do you say so?
I said that because when I was growing up, that was the word that I heard all the time, is that Filipino players. So what you're reading is, what did they think about Filipino players when I was growing up? And why was it so hard for a Filipino to get to the NBA? So I answered in this way, because I heard it all my life. Filipinos are too small. Filipinos aren't quick enough. Filipinos can't get their jumper off because of their size. Filipinos aren't challenged enough because of the level of basketball I heard things that I just said, okay, so all you did is you made me more hungry to prove to you that a Filipino is good enough. A Filipino is big enough. A Filipino is strong enough. Filipinos can get their jumper off whenever they want. For me, it was, you lit a fire inside me to prove to you that this heritage and this culture, who loves the game of basketball, can compete at any level. That's why I spoke that.
Ivan,
were the
do you have a
stereotypes.
comment regarding what he said? Regarding sa Filipino basketball players? Do you have a comment, Ivan?
Actually, I can't blame Raymond Townsend for that, because after all, yeah, there's a difference in the level of the competition. Of course, the USA is already there. Let's get it. They're already miles away ahead. So I know where Townsend is coming from. But now, with that said, fast forward to today. You made it to the NBA, and now there's a Filipino selected in the lottery, number 2 overhaul. His name is Jalen Green. So talk about the development. I go.
Perfect. Well, and the reason I said those things is because I want all Filipinos, be it Filipino American or Filipino
Foreigners,
naturally born,
naturally born
Filipinos in the PI. I want them to understand that, I carried the torch for 38 years. Jordan Clarkson picked up that torch.
Yeah.
Jalen Green picked up that torch. See, you don't have 38 years anymore. You have Jordan Clarkson, and then you have, maybe 3 or 4 years later. And guess what? You're going to have another one next year. We are sending a message to all Filipino players that all things are possible. And it's getting easier, not easier. It's never easy to get there, but it's getting more
accessible
often. You see more often that Filipino players are competing for these places. One of the things I think that hurt Filipino basketball players back in the day with Jaworski and Mon Fernandez, these guys had enough ability.
Yes.
I think what hurt the Filipinos in the 80s and 90s, and I've met some very good players. That's my mind. Johnny Abarimiento.
Johnny Abarrientos.
Johnny A.
That wasn't the 90s? Was that the 90s?
Yes.
90s.
He was actually
the
going to the NBA almost.
There was Jerry
Esplana.
Estrada, but there was a really good player.
Jerry Cordillera.
Who?
Jerry Cordillera.
Yeah, but there was somebody even bigger than that. Bigger than Barrientos. I met him.
Jojo Lastimosa?
Jojo was a good player. No, it was a 6'4" strong forward.
Alvin Patrimonio.
Alvin Patrimonio. I met Alvin.
Alvin Patrimonio.
So I want to tell you, all these guys had ability that they could have tried out and made teams. But I think what hurt Filipino players in the 80s and 90s, they had such a great reputation in the Philippines. They were destined and already being called the greatest players in the Philippines.
Actually, you forgot one player.
Who?
The trigger man, Alan K.
Yeah, Alan K. But with all these guys, they had all the ability. But you also have to look at, these guys were called the greatest players in the Philippines. With that being said, do you want to try out with the New Jersey Nets?
Yes.
Who at that time was very good, and get cut?
Yeah.
So now what's they going to say? So-and-so, one of the greatest Filipino players to ever play in the Philippines, but was cut by the Do you
Oh,
want that
that
attached?
that is
Do
too
you want
hard.
that? Do
That
you
is
want that
too hard to
attached?
swallow. That's true.
Do you want
Okay.
that attached to your legacy? No. So a
Yeah.
lot of Filipino players weren't willing to come over and put their that legacy on the line because it's tough to make the NBA. Now, with all the changes in the
Yes.
technology and exposure and social media, now you see Filipino players all over the world, wherever they're playing, being put on the spotlight so that you can see how good they are.
Actually,
Right?
I'm going to tell one player, Kai Soto, 7'2",
Yeah.
Yes.
70.
7'2" teenager. He played in the
Guess what?
NBL with the Adelaide 36ers.
And he had a great performance the other
He's
way.
coming into the draft. Isn't he entering the draft this next year?
He
eligible next year.
He
But I
will
haven't-
try to do.
He's
Well,
eligible
let me
next
just
year,
tell you.
but
Did
he has yet to make his announcement.
Okay. Did you see how since Jordan Clarkson, now you got Jalen Green? Do you see how small of a span that is? Now watch the time between Jalen Green and Kai. It's going to be small.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
starting to see Filipino players close the gap and get there almost annually. They're going to get there every 2 or 3 years. You're going to see more and more. And I'm going to tell you what, the young player watching these players get there was like watching me a long time ago. The problem with me, and I haven't met Jordan, I haven't met Jalen. I will through the NBA, Filipino travels, but they didn't know who I was during their era. They weren't even born yet.
Yeah.
See, the young players now are watching these players currently dominate NBA basketball. So you've got young kids now. It's kind of like Tiger Woods did in golf. When he came in and he took over the golf circuit, you have all these young kids now that Tiger's older who are beating Tiger because of Tiger.
Hmm.
They are
Actually,
great in their game because of Tiger. You have Jalen, you got Jordan, you got these guys are lighting a fire
Great.
in all the young Filipino basketball players to be great, not to be good, to be great. So I'm grateful that I'm part of that cycle. I'm grateful. I am so grateful to talk proudly about my Kababayan heritage and being the first Filipino to ever play in the NBA. I'm grateful, and I don't get into natural born Filipino American. You know what? Any man that stands up and loves his Kababayan heritage, guess what? Stand by them, because they're not afraid to speak out of who they are.
Wait,
Now-
I have another
Wait.
question. Since you mentioned earlier that you haven't met Jordan, you haven't even met
Jalen.
yet, what would you tell them or either of them once you meet them in person?
Yeah.
I would first of all thank them for not only making an impact in the NBA, thank them for representing, because they're very outspoken about their Filipino heritage. I would thank them for that. I would also thank them for all they do to give back to the community, especially the Filipino community. Those would be the first things I'd say. Then I'd give them a hug, probably take a picture and point to them, you know.
Jordan Clarkson is our reigning sixth man of the year, and he's trying to get his second.
Yeah, he had a 40 piece earlier the other day.
He had 45 points.
He had a great game the other night. Yes.
Well, now we will talk about this Gilas Pilipinas and the 2023 FIBA World Cup that will be hosted by our country, Japan, and I don't know if they will host Indonesia.
No, they will still host, but if they will clarify, that's the question mark. Qualify.
Yeah, that's the question mark. Now, yep, been
Gilas,
followed the Gilas Pilipinas.
Is Tab still with Gilas?
Okay.
No, new coach.
Okay, I will make honesty with you, Sir Raymond. Our program right now is in a backlash because I don't know if you watch the game between the New Zealand and the Philippines. First time that we have fans since the pandemic. we are very, very disappointed. We are very, very disappointed by the result because it is still another system implemented, but the problem, time. They're cramming out of it. And I will say, I don't know where will it go. This now we will have the Southeast Asian Games, and then we will have the Asian Games by later this year, and then we will go for the FIBA World Cup. And also the Asia Cup. We're thinking, how will it go there? Despite our lineup is now going to be taller. With actually we have a naturalized player in Ange Kwame. Sir Raymond, I would like to ask you, have you followed the Gilas Pilipinas?
Every once in a while. I don't see him play often though.
Okay. But what is your fearless forecast going 2023 for the
Well,
Philippines?
I really can't answer that because I don't know enough about Gilas.
Okay.
To be candid with you. I do know. Well, I talked to Tab back. He came to San Francisco
Mhm.
with he came with the team because I met
Ateneo, his college team.
Ateneo. They were here in San Francisco. I went up, talked to Tab. I met Kiefer Ravina.
Kiefer Ravena.
Oh,
Kiefer Ravina. I met Kiefer. He was supposed to give me a call. We were going to get together. You know, I've been trying to do is I've been trying to get together with Kobe Paras when he was at Northridge. He was a teammate of, I trained for the kids with Kobe on Northridge. Terrell Gomez, who plays over in France right now in the first division. A kid named Lamine Janae, who's in the G League. Alex Soko, who's still playing in college right now, averaged about 17 points. And a kid named Jared Perry, who was at Seattle. I was training those four players, and Kobe was on the team. And I was trying to get together with Kobe because I wanted to work on his jumper. Because I really felt that Kobe Paras, Bobby Ray, Parks, and Kiefer, I wanted to work on some things because I have an eye for shooters. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I've trained a lot of shooters in the NBA. And I want to just take some time. I never got a chance to get together with Kobe. You know, Bobby Ray, our schedules just didn't work. And Kiefer, when he was out, he was only out for 2 weeks, but we didn't get together. I've been trying to get back to the Philippines, especially with Gilas. You know, when that time I talked to Tab, I said, Tab, bring me in. I said, you know what? I could shoot it, and I know this game. Bring me in. Let me take a shot at some of your shooters and show them some little tricks of the trade so they can get their shot off better and reads and counters and things of that nature. But then he doesn't. Your new coach is who? What's his name?
John Wichico. John Wichico.
Okay, so you have a new coach. It's not Yang Gao.
Oh, the new coach is Chot Reyes.
Oh, Chalk. Yes.
Chot Reyes again.
Yes. Okay, so Chalk came back.
Yeah.
So-
And he was
so
actually
I'm
replaced
trying to-
Baldwin
I'm trying
last
to get
February.
I'm trying to get back to the Philippines to try to talk to somebody. So I was thinking when I get back with NBA Asia, I'm supposed to come over there. I'll meet all these guys and talk to them then and see if I can.
That is a good idea. That is a good idea because, you know,
and some way get involved from a coaching standpoint, you know, at giving back to our fellow players.
and actually, there's one question from Zep Junior Franco. Do you aware about the citizenship, about any citizenship from the world? I'm talking about the Hagop rule because in FIBA, a citizen must require a you need to have a passport before 16 years old.
It's
That was
16 years
required.
old before you could get dual citizenship.
Yes. Actually, that was the problem for Jordan Clarkson because they believe Jordan had a passport at age 12, but they couldn't find it. So FIBA decided that Jordan cannot play as a local, but as a naturalized player for the Philippines. Now, here is my question. How is it affecting young Phil foreign players want to represent the country and also the others? Because we know if you will notice, Qatar is actually having the benefit of having other citizens recruiting to play with the Qataris. And they
Well,
are not naturalized, locals.
no, there has been. I got a call from Azerbaijan.
Mhm.
Azerbaijan. They were recruiting some of my kids when they were 15 to go and play. They give them citizenship and train with their Olympic team. So, they're out there. There's people out there recruiting, good young talent and giving them dual citizenship anyway. So it's out there. And what are you going to do? Coach Wood used to say, it's kind of funny when you bring all this up. He said, whether you're going to play against the best team or the worst team, the highest ranked team or the lowest ranked team, or the best players and the not so best players, he goes, you still got to play them. So he used to say that. And we used to think about, because, when everybody was worried about seeds, we were always number one. So it didn't matter back in the day. But when I think about that, I kind of have that same feeling. The reason I think that Michael Jordan is the GOAT, and, I know there's this big talk. The reason I think Michael Jordan was the GOAT, because he did it at a size that couldn't dominate rebounding. He did it at a size that couldn't dominate with power, but he made everybody around him better.
Yeah.
Everybody that played with him, he made them better. No matter what the story is, he made them better. Won more championships than just about anybody who's ever played. And day in and day out, being gimmick defense, double team, triple team, whatever you threw at him, he came out on top. So, he's the epitome for me of somebody who, it doesn't matter who steps on that court. Whoever's stepping on that court, you're going to have to go through me. So I think that's the mentality we all need to have. That's the competitive spirit, and get out of the politics of how we got you, when we got you. Hey, step on the court, prepare your players to play, because Coach Wooden, as he said, being not prepared is preparing to fail. Get your kids prepared. Get your kids prepared to compete. Teach them how to play proper basketball. And guess what? The Philippines will compete with the best. And you can tell me, oh, it's talent. So no, you know what? Teach your kids to play. Teach your kids how to play the right way.
Now, let's go to the other topic. We're talking about being a Filipino.
Yeah.
Actually, your mother is from Balayan, Batangas, and I came there a few years ago. What do you see about, you are in a foreign country and you are a Filipino American? How's life in the States during your time and until now? How's your life?
You mean in the United States?
Yeah.
I mean, with a Filipino mother?
With a Filipino mother, yes.
My mother kept all the different Filipino customs. We ate Filipino food, and
what's your favorite Filipino food, if I may ask?
Well, trust me, I always tell people I'm 6'4" because I ate a lot of balut, but I'm not a balut.
Balut?
No, I'm not. It's not one of my favorites. I like dinuguan. I like
dinuguan. Whoa, that is my favorite.
I like surchado. I like
sarchado.
Adobo.
Adobo.
So there's a lot of things that we used to like, and we used to make for dessert biko. We used to make maruya. We kept the Filipino culture with the way we ate, but more so, we kept the Filipino culture by giving and serving. The Filipino heart is one of the greatest hearts that serve people. Yeah. Unselfish, compassionate, and will do anything for you. But on the other hand, you cross a Filipino and take advantage of a Filipino, you see a whole nother side of our country, our race.
Yeah.
But as far as a giving culture, there's no better culture or race that lives on this earth that gives like Filipino people.
Well,
So
I'm talking.
we kept that.
Well, during Larry, I know you are a basketball player, and then you played baseball. I don't know if you want to answer this. Do they see discrimination sometimes during your time?
Sure. All the time. All the time. You know, I played in a time when it was all black. I played, and, you know, me being perceived as black, yeah, there was a lot of discrimination. You know, I used to get tickets driving slow, and it would say, because the officer would fill the ticket out and say, this is because you're black. I don't like your people. I don't like what you represent. And I said, I'm not even black. I'm Filipino. He goes, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I am. You know, so, I mean, you know, we felt the prejudice. You know, there were people who use words sitting behind us. I mean, you know, there was prejudice all around us. But that was because they thought I was black in an all black league in a white league. So
yeah,
black players in a white league. So I mean, I felt it. You know, now you got something totally different. You know, and I'm one who's outspoken about Asian hate. You know, we got a lot of Asian hate crimes here in America that are going on, and you know, it doesn't matter if you're Japanese, Filipino, Indonesia, Malaysian. It doesn't matter. You know, Chinese, Korean, it doesn't matter. Guess what? Vietnamese, we have a lot of Vietnamese population here, but we have a lot of Asian hate. And my whole thing is, you know, you got Black Lives Matter, you got Brown Lives Matter. You know what? We all got to get back to all lives matter. You know,
exactly.
my mama brought me up, you know, in the Filipino culture. We didn't see color. We saw hearts. We saw, if you had a good heart, man, you were let into the family. Familia went way beyond just your brothers and sisters, your aunts and uncles. Familia was a word that we used when you earned our heart.
Actually, yeah, we're talking about your what do you show during. Now I know you're the first NBA Phil Am player. What did you show to the crowd, to the organization, and to the league itself that despite you're a Filipino American, you are totally respected? How do you show to them?
Mine was about community support. Even to this day, my Filipino heart for people. We've serviced over 33,000 young people since 1990. I have done God's work about serving community. I am grateful that God has called me to serve over 30,000 young people and their families to help their lives get bigger and better. So when you ask me that question, it's about what I gave back as an NBA player in my Filipino heritage, in my culture, with my heart, because that's what I think we're known for.
And then in 2016, you were hailed by your city, San Jose, to be in the Hall of Fame. My question there is, what feeling that you had when you were hailed as a member of the 2016 San Jose Hall of Fame?
I was grateful because all of these years there's only been like 90 athletes that have been chosen. I was very grateful because it's nice to serve all these people in this community and then be recognized, you know, for your lauded, for your exploits, for your career. You know, I always wanted to go down as my legacy for how many people we impacted to make their lives bigger and better. And it felt good that somebody recognized my athletic efforts and my athletic endeavors and honored me in that way. So it was very, very humbling, and it was very, very full of gratitude.
Now, well, given that the NBA right now, well, Ivan, may question ka ba? Ivan, nandiyan ka ba? Yon. Siyempre, kailangan, Ivan, question. Mute ka. Mute ka, pre.
Yeah, so yun. So my question to Sir Raymond, you already mentioned about the the discrimination thing. Was there a time that you were slurred with the N bomb or maybe some sort of racist slur, and how did you react?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that question. Ivan, right?
It's Ivan.
Ivan.
Ivan. So you mentioned already about discrimination.
Oh yeah.
Was there a time that you somehow had a grudge and really maybe even punched someone after they dropped maybe the N bomb on you or some sort of a slur?
Nah. You know what? I was trained by Coach Wooden. We don't talk. We don't talk. We don't get involved in all that. We play above those kind of situations. I never ever. You know what? All that is ignorance, and it's funny how ignorance can rear its head in totally different situations. I don't fall prey to ignorance. I don't. I won't. I see it when it rears its head. I see it, and God doesn't call us to be vindictive or revengeful. He's in charge of that. So I kind of ignore situations like that. I see it when it happens. You know what? And like I said, I don't stop to acknowledge ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, let's jump a bit because you mentioned already MJ as the GOAT. On a lighter note, where would you rank LeBron then?
What?
Where would you rank LeBron then? If MJ is number one in the GOAT list, where is LeBron?
Oh, LeBron's right close, but I don't think I'm not how do I say this? I think LeBron is one of the greatest players to ever play the game, but I don't see him as a Michael Jordan. And I know that it's very tough on LeBron because he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And I feel there's a lot of people who feel he is the greatest. But I think if you ask a lot of the players who have played in the different eras, I think you'll see that they're going to say it's MJ. So, and I'm sure you've heard that a lot.
Yeah, too much.
I'm sure.
Too much.
I hear you're going to interview Artist Gilmore.
So Artist Gilmore by next month. He will be by next month.
So,
but
can I give you my Artist Gilmore? Can I tell you my Artist Gilmore story?
Oh yes, go. I'd like to hear that.
We may relay that soon.
So I was in my second year, and I'd seen Artists play at Jacksonville. I knew who he was. I watched him play UCLA. When he got in the league, we were going to Chicago. We were playing at Chicago. And, and I knew he was big and tough. And I mean, his arms and his strength just alone at his size.
His hook shots.
Yes. But I came through the lane and I looked left and I didn't see him to my right. And I went up and I saw him come and I kind of turned my body to get a shot up. And all I remember is he hit me. I landed about 6 feet away. I was on my back and I was looking up the lights, the circular lights of the arena. He walked over.
Super strong.
Hey, he walked over. And you know how you can pick up a baby by its arm? You can just lift the baby up right under, you put your hand right under his shoulder and saying you can just lift the baby up. He lifted me up like that. And he just put me on my feet with one arm. Put me on my feet. And he said, "Don't come in here no more."
How about this guy?
That's my Artist Gilmore. Say, "Don't come in here no more."
How about this guy? You have played him. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem's a friend of mine. Kareem's a good friend. Kareem is the type of man he is. First of all, people don't understand how articulate Kareem is. Kareem is very, very well educated. Great writer. Not just one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and probably doesn't get the credit that's due.
And great martial artist.
Yeah, with Bruce. Yes. But Kareem, the other day I was sitting at this function for one of my players I train, And I was sitting down with this little 8-year-old white kid, little white boy, 8 years old, cute as could be. I know I train his sisters, so I know him. So he sat down and I said, how's school? And he goes, oh, we're doing a project. We get to write about anybody we want because it's Black History Month. I said, well, who are you writing about? He said, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then he went on to tell me everything about Kareem. So I told him my stories about Kareem, that he's a friend of mine and different things. And me and this little young man were having this great talk. Well, I called Kareem up probably 2-3 days later. I said, Kareem, I need a favor. I need you to, if you can, I have an 8-year-old young boy that you are his idol. He's doing a big thesis and report on you. Can you get him just a book of you and sign it for him? Kareem got him a big poster, signed it, got him a little certificate, got him a book, signed it, and had it to him within a week. That's the kind of guy Kareem is. Just a great, great man. Not only a great player, and Kareem, he cares about UCLA tradition. He was upset for a while about the way the direction UCLA was headed, which was so different than our tradition. And he stepped up and kind of, was the spokesman for all the UCLA alumni, the Wooden alumni, that we have to get UCLA basketball back to a place of prominence. And bringing in Mick Cronin to coach UCLA right now has been a tremendous change. We're seeing the level of basketball being improved again. And Kareem had a lot to do with that. But great, great player. Just a wonderful, wonderful story, Kareem.
How about this guy? This guy made a great what do we call it? Superhero thing that he saved an animal. Clifford Ray. He saved a dolphin.
Clifford used to have a lion.
Clifford Ray.
You want to hear my story about Clifford?
Yeah. Go.
Clifford came over. Clifford loved my mother. Just loved her Filipino cooking. My mom was like 5'1". Clifford was 6'11". He used to take pictures with my mom. My mom would be lower than his waist. He loved my mother, loved my family, and to this day, still a good friend. But I remember my Clifford story. Clifford was always good about making sure, as a leader of the Golden State Warriors when I played, he was the leader. He was the captain. He was the one because he was the vet. He'd been there through the championships. They kept him to keep everybody together. But Clifford used to have this lion, right? It was a tiger. He used to have this tiger. And he was caring for this tiger, and he gave it to this company that took care of all these wild animals. Well, this company had all these animals chained, and they were walking them through halftime. And his tiger was one of the animals. And so all of us were standing in the hallway, getting ready to go on the court, but we had to wait till the halftime show. So we're all standing there, and I was standing next to Clifford, and all of a sudden his tiger came, and even though it had a trainer, it was yanking. You could just tell the tiger when it looked at Clifford. It was
the tiger, excited, right? Yeah.
Hey, this thing's paws and everything was so big. It came right next to it. It jumped up, and its paws were like on his shoulder, and he was licking Clifford's face. And I'll never forget. Everybody was freaking out because that thing is so big. When he got up on his hind legs. But it was Clifford said he had to give it up because it was just getting too big. And so he gave it up to this company, but I'll never forget him and his tiger. He called his tiger Johan because that was his nickname, Johan. But I got good stories. Robert Parrish. I remember when I first got in the league, Robert Parrish being 7'2", he said, man, when you come off this screen, you got to hit that jumper right off my shoulder.
Yes.
He goes, take one step off. He goes, you know what? They're going to get that. He goes right off my shoulder. And I told him the truth. I said, hey, big fella, can I be honest with you? I got to take that half step, because that half step, the shot will be gone. He goes, I said, but I can't see the hole because you're so big. I can't see the bucket. He goes, darn it, Raymond, you get over here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We practice at 12 for 2 hours. We're going to work. And I'm going to teach you how to lift, catch the bucket at your jump, and now catch the target on the peak. And I had to work on that. We worked on it for about 2 weeks straight, and I had to learn.
And you have improved a lot.
Those are the players I played with. That I tell you what, I was a student of the game, and I was so grateful to play around people that spoke into my life. Not just coaches.
How about this guy? Actually, I will name two. One is Jack Sigma.
Jack had the worst looking shot in the world.
Yeah.
But it went in.
The Sigma move.
You know who I just talked to from that team?
Seattle.
I talked to Dale Ellis the other day.
Dale Ellis, yes.
Talked to him for about a half an hour. And we were talking about the difference between players today, the entitlement, and us, how we were so hungry when we play. And so it was a good conversation. But Sigma, he did his job. Wasn't the best athlete in the world, didn't jump the highest than everybody else, but he knew his job, and he did it well. And he played for a very good coach. I think he played for Lenny Wilkins.
Lenny Wilkins. They won the championship in 1979. But before that, the one that I will say to you, it's the late Wes Unseld.
Wes Unseld. Now that guy was another guy you had to look out for when you came in the middle. He'd take your head off. Wes was known for just knocking you. He'd take your head off. Don't you?
For sure, you're experiencing bone-crushing picks with him.
Do you know why else I think Michael's the GOAT? We're getting into this. We're talking about old school basketball and new school. Back in the day when I played, and I'm outspoken about this, the game was tougher to play because physically, the game in the 70s and 80s, you look at the fouls. Every foul now would be called.
Yeah.
Hey, we used to have hard fouls. You take people out because it's just the way it was. You could hand check. You could hit guys' elbows. You could hit a guy in the nose on a shot. You could get away with a lot of things back in the day. And you know what? Jordan came in up to the 80s. He had to play with all of that. Nowadays, and this is why I say he's the GOAT. Nowadays, they protect players.
Yeah.
You can't play as physical.
And even the load management. That's the problem.
I'm just letting you know. That's another reason why I feel, Michael was the GOAT.
Yeah. And even also Will Chamberlain, actually.
Will Chamberlain was one of the greatest athletes. Do you know he could run? He could run like
he can run. He can jump high. Yeah. I have watched scary stories of Bill.
Bill Walton. Bill Walton introduced me to Wilt Chamberlain on my recruiting trip to UCLA.
Now, how about let's have this one? I think you met this guy. You played against him. Another late, Dennis Johnson.
Oh, played against Dennis at Pepperdine. Dennis used to come down to Poly Pavilion and work out with us in the off season. Then he went to Seattle. I was at Golden State. So we played not only against each other in college, but played each other in the summer. And then played. Dennis Johnson was a good player. Smart. Didn't try to do too much. Very simple. I used to like players who were simple, effective, and efficient. Simple, effective, and efficient. And even now, I train about 250 kids here in the Bay Area. Simple, effective, and efficient. I train all these different levels. Got a lot of kids in D1. Got a couple kids in the NBA. Simple, effective, and efficient. That's the kind of guy. Dennis Johnson was that guy. And played both ends. Not many guys can you say that they play both ends. I was a both ends guy.
Now let's go for this one. We have favorite and haters. Most favorite and hatest. Why? Because I would like to ask you, what are your most favorite thing and your hated things? Now, let's have this one, okay? Okay. Most favorite time when you're waking. What most favorite thing that you wake but okay, let's have this sorry. What is the most favorite thing that you do when you're waking up? Most favorite thing.
When I wake up,
Yeah.
first thing I do when I wake up. Um, the most favorite thing. Man,
Was it
I
tough?
usually, no, because my life's different right now. I have my grandchildren who live with me. So
Mm.
I think my most favorite thing is when my granddaughter, Sienna Faith, comes in my room and kisses me goodbye before
Going
she
to
goes to
school.
school. Yes, Papa, I love you.
Wow.
I'll see you after school. That's probably the greatest
You're
thing that I
saying to
have.
her the word lolo because that is the
Oh,
Philippine.
yes. Or when she comes in and says, Papa, let's go to Starbucks today. So
Most favorite
I'm
thing of the what about this? Most favorite thing that you do that you did in a day. What is your most favorite thing that you did in a day?
during the day, it's usually training, or when I can play golf, I play
Hmm.
golf. I love golf. I tried about 6, 7 years ago. I tried to play on the senior tour and I missed it by 2 strokes. So
What
I
now?
love,
What about
I
okay?
try to, uh, I'm supposed to get together with Steph. We're supposed to get out and play at the end of the
Steph
season.
Curry
So,
plays
in fact,
golf. Yeah,
I'm going to see Steph and Steve and Clay and Yvonne Looney. I'm going to see them
playing golf.
first week of April when they play the Suns. I'm going to get up there.
What about this? What is your favorite UCLA? What is your favorite March Madness moment?
Obviously, winning the NCAA title. I was in 3 Final Fours when I played,
Yes.
and we should have won this next year. We beat Kentucky, and then I started against Indiana, and we only had two losses that season. Indiana at the beginning of the season, Indiana at the end of the season. Indiana got us twice. It's the year they went undefeated with Scott May, Quinn Buckner, who was on that, Kent Benson, Bobby Wilkerson, and Tom Abernathy. Tom played with me at Golden State. That was the year they went
Bob
25 and
Abernathy. Yeah.
26-0. Bobby Knight. So they got us then, and I thought I could get 2 out of 3 rings, but my junior year was the year we had 11 NBA pros on that team, and we lost. We got the biggest upset. We were ranked #1 all season. We had undefeated season, and then we lost in the NCAAs on a 28-foot hook shot by a last-second shot by a guy named Steve Adams. I think his name is Steve Adams. Steve Hayes from Idaho State. That's the biggest upset in NCAA history.
What is your
So,
hatest? What is your hatest hatest March Madness moment? Your hatest.
moment.
Okay.
The year we got knocked off by Arkansas. Um, we had a shot at getting to the Final Four and really had a good shot at winning the NCAA that year, and Arkansas knocked us off. Most hated. They had 3 NBA players. His name was they had it was Collins. Who was it? 3 players. It'll come to me. They had the kid that played at Milwaukee with Marcus, Sidney Moncrief.
Sidney Moncrief.
Sidney Moncrief. They had Bootsy Collins, and they had Collins played at Portland. He had a son that even played. Roy was his name, Roy Collins, and they had Marvin Delph. So those were the Ron Brewer. So it was Ron Brewer, Sidney Moncrief, and Marvin Delph all played in the NBA. They knocked us off Arkansas knocked us off, and that was probably the most hated because I didn't want to end my UCLA. I ended my UCLA career ended on a home game. I had 30 points against Michigan on national TV, but I didn't want my season to end like that, which was the
Very devastating.
Elite Eight.
Yeah.
And all we had to do was beat Arkansas, and we would have been there. And we fell short. So,
How about this? Your most favorite Warrior moment. Warrior.
Warrior moment. 27. I think I had 27 or 29 against the San Diego Clippers. It was
Career
game,
night.
It was a game where I actually got in a fight. I only had 2 fights in my whole life in the NBA.
Oh.
And it was against World Be Free.
World Be Free, yes.
Hey,
A guard from the
Billy,
Sixers.
Billy, both fights were World Be Free. He hated me. He told me, he used to say this to the papers. He'd tell me this. He goes, he'd say some expletives, and then he'd tell me that I was always trying to hurt his career the way I played defense, that I should have played for the Oakland Raiders.
Okay. Hatest player to guard.
Hardest.
Hardest? The hardest
Toughest.
player to guard that you got hate with it because you're getting frustrated.
No, the toughest player I had to guard obviously was Magic Johnson,
Yes.
because he's 6'9", he's big. I was very quick. So, I tried to, do that. But if he really wanted to, he could have just taken me down low whenever he wanted at 6'9", and he's so big. That was one of the toughest players.
Toughest.
Isaiah Thomas was tough because he played dirty.
Obvious.
He
Most
played
favorite-
dirty. No, he played dirty, and I'll fight him, and he'd fight me. So it was that was a tough matchup. But the best player I ever guarded,
Ooh.
Otis Birdsong.
Otis Bird. Yeah.
6'6", 6'6" guard, went to Houston. Man, that guy, I swear, I had my hands in his nose, on his eyelashes, and that guy he hit jumpers. He was one of the toughest players. Larry was tough only because he was big. Those were 2 of the players. But one of the best guards that I ever had a guard, and God rest his soul, he just passed recently. I was recruited by him at USC, Paul Westphal.
Yes, Paul Westphal. Yes, I love Paul Westphal. Spinning
Paul
jumpers.
Westphal was a very, very good
And
player.
Hall of Famer Paul Westphal. How about
He
this?
was very, very smart. Very
Most
smart.
favorite teammate in Golden State.
Oh, Phil Smith.
Phil Smith.
Phil Smith.
Most favorite okay. Who is your most favorite opponent? Your most favorite opponent that you
That we
have been
used to
friends
play?
with? Favorite.
My favorite opponent we used to play. Man, when I was in Indiana, it used to be the Boston Celtics. I used to love playing in the Garden. And
Gary Shifting.
you know what? I tell you what, Billy, I never understood. They used to talk about, well, there's something about playing at UCLA, because when you go into UCLA, you have this aura, A-U-R-A, an aura about it. When you walk in, you see all the NCAA banners, and you see the way the place is. I never knew that because I was a part of that. So I never got those feelings. I was just proud to look up and be a part of the tradition and the legacy and the legend.
I remember
But
many players have played in the NBA with UCLA.
Billy, when I went to Boston on that parquet floor and I looked up in the rafters.
Oh, the
and
banners.
You know what? I got a feeling of whatever other people. That was like, it was not intimidating, but it was something. It was a sight.
Well, Ivan,
Yes.
go ka na, mag-question ka na.
Wala.
We have last few questions.
Can I ask a quick question? So wait, so where was I? So you mentioned a lot of NBA players already. So if you are to compare modern day NBA players today to your era.
Yeah, the modern day.
Yeah. Who would you let's say? Where will you compare Steph? Where will you compare LeBron or Jamorant to the players in the past?
Giannis.
So if I were to compare LeBron, who would I compare LeBron to in the past when I played?
Yeah, during your time.
That's your question? Back in my day, that's like LeBron and could play. That's a good question. Let me just LeBron.
How about George
Uh,
McGinnis?
Yeah, I played with George at Indiana, but I caught George at the end of his career. So I didn't see George at the height of his career. It's like Pistol. I played with Pistol Pete, but I caught him at the end of his career. I didn't see him at the height of his career.
Mhm.
But you're saying, obviously LeBron is built like George back in that day, but I would say, man, somebody dominant in that day. Do you know who LeBron played like? But no, you can't compare him to the kid from Seattle. He's built like him. Boy,
They're very
we
tough.
didn't have many players like LeBron who was 6'9" that could do what he does. I don't remember any players being that big and that strong that play like him. Man, that's a good question. Go ahead, ask me another question. It'll come to
How
me.
about Steph?
Steph Curry.
Who do I compare him to? Man, great shooters. Otis Birdsong, I already mentioned him. That would be one. Downtown Freddie Brown.
Freddie Brown.
Freddie Brown.
From the Seattle Supersonics was another one. There was a kid from Detroit when I played named John Long. Was a pretty good shooter. See, Philly had the little guy that could shoot the lights out. What was his name?
Andrew Toney.
Andrew Toney.
Another member of the 83 team.
And
Andrew Toney. Yes, he reminded me a little bit of Steph. Those guys. Oh, Nate Archibald.
Tiny Archibald.
Nate.
How about this guy? Since binanggit mo naman Ivan. Chris Paul.
CP3. Wow.
Yes. The great point guards back in the day. Obviously Isaiah Thomas was, he could do a lot of great things. I think Boston had a really good point guard, Johnny Davis, if I remember one. He was a very good point guard back in the day. Gary Payton was a very good player back in the day. That reminds me of them. John Lucas, our own point guard, was a very good player.
How about this guy? How about this guy? Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. Man, I'd be honest with you. Kevin's a talent, man. How many 6'11" guys play like a guard? And I know you got a lot of Europeans coming over, but they don't handle it.
Yeah.
Handle it, but not like Kevin. Kevin's got guard skills. He could play a 2, 3, 4, or 5. You don't see many guys like that. And when I think about 6'11" guys back in the day I played, the only guys I remember were like that. They couldn't shoot like Kevin, but there was like guys like Connie Hawkins.
Connie Hawkins, the Hawk, yes.
Yeah, they had guys who were 6'9", 6'10" that could play. But man, I don't remember guys that can shoot like that. Kevin's that's a player that's kind of one of a kind. I don't remember anybody that big, and I played with a lot of players that could shoot the ball like that.
Yeah.
There weren't many. You know, a lot of the 6'11" kids when I played, the players, you know, they were put on the box for power basketball. You know, you don't have much power basketball anymore, not as much, because a lot of the bigs now shoot threes, Jokic and a lot of these bigs.
Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, they play outside and want to shoot. They want to be guards. So, you know, you've got a European influx of big men who are like guards, and you've got an influx of power forwards who are like guards. So
Actually, I would like to ask this one. I would like to ask this one.
yes.
What kind of basketball do you want? Yesterday or now?
Well, I like the mix. I like Golden State
Mix.
basketball.
Oh,
Basketball is a Golden State basketball is a mix of old school and new school. It's a mix. You see the ball movement. You see
Yeah.
everybody touching. You see
Space and
everybody
space.
involved. You see great team basketball, but you also have the flair of great shooting up and down, fast break. You know, they slow it down to half court offense when they don't have numbers. You know, it's good basketball. I like that. You know, although old school basketball was good because it was less individualism. So, you know, but
Actually,
I like
I forgot one person. Who will you compare during that time? The player itself, Draymond Green,
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones, the
Bobby
Secretary of
Jones.
Defense. Why? Why do you compare Draymond Green to Bobby J?
and
Because
not
Bobby
Dennis Rodman.
Jones, they were very similar. They made everybody better. Bobby was a great passer. He was the best defensive player. You know, Draymond brings to the team. It's not his offense. It's his defense, his communication. It's his help. That was what Bobby was all about. Bobby was never about being the star with Dr. J or any of those guys. Bobby was about being a supportive cast that
Yeah.
impacted the game so you can get W's. He did the dirty work. That's who Draymond reminds me of.
Ivan.
Yes. Okay, so wait, now you mentioned already the evolution. Yeah, you already mentioned Kevin Durant's case that it's kind of rare during your time that you're seeing 6'11" players playing like as if they're playing guards, or maybe the closest would be an Anthony Davis type of guy. So talk about where would you be, assuming, let's say, because we all know Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, they really helped revolutionize the 3-point shooting game. If a 3-point shot was already existent, maybe during your college career, because you still made your 3 points later in your career, but it was not that as frequent as it is right now.
Well,
If
you have to remember, I used to have this conversation, Ivan, with Coach Wood, and I used to go back and say, Coach, everything I shot was a 3-pointer. I should have like 800 more points.
Yeah.
I should have like 700 more points, Coach. And he'd laugh. You know what Coach Wooden's answer to that would be? He'd say, Raymond, individual records are wonderful and made to be broken. Team records stand forever.
Exactly.
Oh, nice.
He's more of a team player.
That would be Coach's answer.
Now you mentioned already the team record, and we all know what Golden State did in 2016. That 73-9 team.
7-3-9.
Yeah. So what was your reaction when they still failed to win it all despite that 73-9? They even have to blow a 3-1 lead in
The
the
3-1
conference
lead
finals
that went
of the OKC.
collapsed.
Yeah, and then the collapse.
Yeah, when you get to that level, it's kind of like the NCAA Final Four.
Yeah.
You think all the number one teams are going to get there. Rarely do all the number one teams get there because it only takes one game or
To
one
change.
series to change the destiny of that team. And that's how I think the NBA is when you get into the playoffs. Even though they got to play 7, anybody can beat anybody.
Anybody's ball game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, when you
Wait,
said,
I have another question for that. I have a
hey,
follow-up.
go.
Because do you think the deciding factor, the game turning point or the series turning point of that collapse was that Game 5 suspension on Dre?
Was the what?
The suspension of
Green
Raymond
was
Green in Game
Raymond
5.
Green in Game 5.
Yes, that had a huge impact.
So,
And
That had a huge impact.
even he had a career high in Game 7, but they still failed to win that game.
Right. No, at that time they were on a roll and they had some that was a setback that had nothing to do with ability, but it has something to do with going out there with your soldiers that you have been in battle with, all season. That's the hit it took.
Wait, I have another question. So, were you kind of wary when Golden State fell 1-3 to OKC in the West? Were there some signs during that series that they might be exposed despite the 73-9 record?
No, I didn't see it coming.
well,
I thought that was the year they're going to win it. But
yeah.
you look throughout the NBA history, there are a lot of teams that led the league all year and then lost in the playoffs. So, I mean, it's the NBA. It's the greatest players in the world. One day they show up and the next day sometimes they don't. So that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you're talking about March Madness, the feeling during that time, and then you said the 73-9 record, is just like the March Madness. In a buzzer beater, if someone will make a buzzer beater, all of them, if they lose the game, they will go down on their floor and sobbing.
Because just one game.
Yeah, this is just one game.
You're done.
I think for Sir Raymond, he experienced it that he sobs on the floor when that shot was made at the buzzer. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I right, Sir Raymond, that you have feelings?
No, I don't sob anymore for games, but I'm not surprised when things happen. You want to have somebody on that would really be good for your show. You should interview my brother, Curtis Townsend. My brother is
Curtis Townsend, yes.
He's over at KU with Bill Self. He's got as many stories as I've got. He leads the one of the greatest assistant coaches to ever coach in America. He is got more NBA one and dones out of the Jayhawks, KU, at KU than any other coach.
Against Joel Embiid, yeah.
You know what? He'd be a good interview for you. I think right after we're done, Billy, I'm gonna send you his phone number.
Yeah,
give him a call.
I want to interview Curtis Townsend.
Actually, would be wonderful.
Actually, I want to have a request with me and Ivan. Can we interview some of the NBA players like number 1, Tim Hardaway Sr.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. You know who I was sitting with the other night? I was at Filipino Heritage Night. I was funny. I was sitting next to what's that Filipino rapper, real famous in America? Pilo. Pilo? Is that his name? Pilo?
Pilo.
He's a Filipino rapper.
In the States.
Yes. Is his name Pilo? Or is it
here in the Philippines, we have so many hip-hop rappers. But the famous here in the Philippines is Francis Magalona or Francis M.
No,
who passed away in 2009.
Oh, this guy is huge in America. Filipino rapper. I was sitting with him, and then I was sitting with a guy named. There's a guy who played in the PBA. His name was his name Justin Reyes.
Justin Reyes. Okay.
Justin Reyes.
Do you remember him at all?
We will search about it.
I was
Elmer Reyes is. I know Elmer Reyes. I know
Eric Reyes.
Eric Reyes, yeah.
But I never heard about Justin Reyes.
Well, let's search about it. But how about
here's what I was trying to get into. When I was sitting at that Filipino Heritage game, I went in to go get a bite to eat, and my sister is part of that Warrior organization. So when I was eating, I had a tap on my back, and it was my buddy Chris Mullin. So
Chris Mullin!
I haven't seen Chris in a little bit of time. So we sat down and we were just talking about old times. And Chris was my roommate in 1987 when I was trying out with George Carl. I was going to finish my career at Golden State when Terry Teagle left and went to Italy. George called me and said, Raymond, it was 87, 88 season. He said, Raymond, Terry just signed with Italy. I want you to come and play for me for 1 year. In 87, 88, he goes, just know if Terry comes back, you're going to lose your job. I said, okay, George, I'll take that job. And, fortunately or unfortunately, Terry came back after 2 weeks, and I just got back from Italy. So he was like, Terry Teagle did not like Italy. And so I didn't get my job, but I roomed with Chris Mullen that year. And that was the year.
Mullen.
Hardaway wasn't there yet. Sleepy Floyd.
Yes.
He was our point guard at that
time. The man who scored 39 points in the second half against the Lakers.
Yeah.
I have another one. The Rock, Mitch Richmond.
Yeah, that was the year they had Run
TMC.
Run TMC.
Yeah, that was a good trio. Those three guys,
Chris Mullen. But
they changed the game.
What about if during their off season, if they can be free during the off season? How about this guy? Actually, I'll just give to Klay Thompson is number one. And second one, how about an interview with, no, I don't know if he will go for that. And it is just a dream, Steph Curry.
Well, I'm going to see them, like I said, April 2nd against the Suns.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that.
I'll ask them, and if they do, I'll pass your number on to them.
Yahoo! And how about other NBA? You have other NBA friends. How about? Do you have friends also from the Lakers? So Lakers too, right?
I don't know who
Michael Thompson.
The dad.
Yeah,
the daddy.
I played with Michael, and that's why I'm close to Klay.
I know. Okay, alam ko na. I know who will be the one. Your teammate before, Marquise Johnson.
I can get Marcus very easy.
Yeah,
Marcus would love to do it.
Marquise Johnson, and well, how about this guy, the legendary coach Al Attles?
Yeah, I could try Al. I have his cell number, and so Billy, I'll try to get you some of these people. Just give me.
Thank you. I will look forward to that. I hope it will be including the NBA 75 player Rick Barry.
I stay in touch with Rick. I've known Rick a long time.
Yeah.
We all just went to Al Attles Hall of Fame celebration. Being in the Hall of Fame, Rick was there. All of his old players were there. Clifford, everybody.
Wow.
Even Gary Payton showed up. There were some old players that showed up there.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So, what a great thing. Ivan, meron ka ba sasabihin?
Actually, I think I'm good na rin. So because you already mentioned, I'm looking forward to possibly interviewing Klay if I'm available. Probably Steph as well.
Michael Thompson,
the daddy, and everything. So, wow, a former number one pick. We're about interviewing. That's gonna be big.
Well, I want to thank you, Ivan, for all your hospitality, your kindness.
Yes.
Billy.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure I thank you. Thank you for honoring me as the first Filipino player in the NBA. I am proud of that legacy, and I wear it proudly.
And we are very honored. We are very honored with Kuya Ivan that we are interviewing. Actually, we interviewed Coach Chris DeLeo. We interviewed Keith Kloss. And then we are interviewed the former PBA import John Fields. And then we have the former imports like Julius Wosu, Reda Radimi, and Ira Clark. And then last month, well, I hope by next month I will interview, hopefully, Artis Gilmore. But
okay.
But well, if you're talking about Raymond
Tell
Townsend,
tell
okay,
tell artists I said hello. I hope
yeah,
he's healthy.
I will tell Sir Artist. But thank you very much. It's an honor for us because you replied to me a month ago that if I am very available, yes, I am very available. And also, despite despite a mishap last night, it's okay because I know that you will respond to me. And this happened. It's a very wonderful thing for 2.5 hours that I interviewed former warrior Raymond Townsend. So,
Well,
well,
Billy, Maraming Salamat, and very
and
best
I
to
will
all of
see you if you will come to the Philippines, especially
when
in the FIBA
make,
World Cup.
make sure you coming down and say hello. And
Ah, yes.
stuff.
Yes, I want to. And also, I have one request from you.
Yes.
Please help Argilas Pilipinas. That's our
Well,
request.
you know what? I'd love to talk to Chot. You know what? You have my cell phone. Give it to Chot. Have him give me a call.
Yeah, we want to. Why do I request that? Because we haven't been in the Olympics since 1972.
Yeah, long
So it's
time.
52. It's 50 years.
50
And we
years.
want to go
Last time you
back
were there.
into that scene. We waited to the World Cup in 2014, 2019, and now as the host. But this time we want to go further. We want to make it to the first Olympics since
Right.
1972. And I hope you will be the one to help with the problem that our country has.
Well, I'd love to be a part of the solution. So let
Thank you.
everybody know. Thank you. Maraming salamat, Billy.
Maraming
Maraming
salamat,
salamat.
everyone. And hopefully, magkita-kita tayo ulit sa linggo. So, this has been Billy Manzana with Ivan Saldahena and syempre our guest Raymond Townsend. Thank you, everyone. And this is the Roundball. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.